riding on some grown man knees. We step into some grown man knees. Conversation on some grown man knees. Put your hands up on some grown man knees. We puffin' on some grown man knees. We sippin' on some grown man knees. We vibing on some grown man knees. We loving on some grown man knees. I know, you know, that you're down with me. You know, I know that
we are here, ladies and gentlemen. We are here on another terrific Tuesday night. This is the visual podcast. Now let me mess it up. I already saw it look up. I already saw it look
visual
up.
Podcast.
Visual podcast, Grown Man Conversations. I am one half of your co-hosting team. I go by the name of Tone X. Also in the building. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I want to introduce myself. I am the other half of this co-hosting team, and I go by the name of White Square, Ava Black, Chocolate Deluxe, Albany, Yolanda.
You should have an
I have
OnlyFans page.
several.
You should be making some streams of income.
I have several aliases, y'all.
They don't know who Ava Black is. You better get that money.
Right.
Tonight, we are joined by one of my favorite people. Very knowledgeable. We got some great information for you tonight. So make sure you put your ears on us. She goes by the name of Miss Denise Banks Wilson. Clap it up for Miss Wilson, please.
Yes, Miss Denise Banks Wilson is in the house.
How you doing, sis?
I am awesome.
Good.
Awesome.
We are ready to go.
Yes, we are.
We are ready to go with you. We only got an hour.
So let's get right into it because we're actually getting into the holidays now, and we have actually been through in a pandemic, in the midst of it, coming out of it, going in and coming out for now almost 2 years. And a lot of things have gone on in families. A lot of things have gone on in marriages. The divorce rate is high. Abuse rate is high, not only for children, but wives and men. So family mediators and co-parenting experts who know how to help people co-parent and mediate are so important. So first of all, for our listeners who are watching, because we like to make sure we get right down to the deep of the information, what is a family mediator?
Well, a family mediator, such as myself, I help families, or a mediator is, let me just say this, we are one way of coming to a resolution. So the model that people, when they're in some kind of contest or in court, the model that people are most familiar with is to litigation. Okay. So then just below litigation is arbitration. And in arbitration, it means that you still have a third party, but the third party is not neutral. And whereas the judge is going to apply the law to help you to come to some resolution, the arbitrator is going to apply a contract. Okay. That's arbitration. Really big thing in entertainment because they almost always make it follow the laws of Atlanta, for example, when it comes to arbitration. It makes it difficult to sue. And then the next level is a mediator. A mediator works with two or more individuals who are in some kind of a dispute. They are 100% neutral, and they are literally there to facilitate the discussion and to help the parents or help the individuals address the issues. I'm a parent mediator. I'm a family mediator. So I only work with parents who are in need of a parenting agreement or a parenting plan. So I sit with them and to help them to resolve their differences. I'm not going to apply the law because I'm not an attorney. I'm not a mental health counselor, so I'm not there to analyze them. There are mediators who are attorneys, and there are mediators who are mental health providers. However, when they're in those roles, when they're serving as a mediator, they have to take off their hat as an attorney or take off their hat as a mental health provider. So I'm considered a non-attorney mediator. So when it comes to that, we are all the same. All of us have to use, it's a completely voluntary process. None of us have any more authority than the parents who are sitting at the table.
Okay.
Right. Gotcha.
So that's the mediator.
That's the mediator.
I heard you talk about parents and having a parenting plan. Next time we had talked, and you were talking about an importance of having a plan.
Right.
What exactly? Because if somebody's saying, "Oh yeah, I've got a plan. I'm planning how to get this money from him." What is a plan?
Right.
I'm planning how to get my child out of this
parenting
house. What is a
plan.
parenting plan?
So a parenting plan and interchangeably a parenting agreement is a contract between the two parents that spells out what their child's life is going to look like going further. Now, those are my words when I say it spells out what the child's life is going to look like going further. But more legalistically, a parenting plan or a parenting agreement is a contract that spells out all of the different specifics with respect to the child's life. Of course, sometimes the parenting plan is executed by the courts. It does not become, no matter how much time you spend with a mediator or with an attorney or whatever, hopefully not an attorney, no matter how much time you spend putting together your parenting plan, however, it does not become law until it is signed by the judge. But once the judge signs the parenting plan, and this is something a lot of people miss, it is the law. Mm-hmm. And so failing to comply with the parenting plan is considered a contempt of court because it is a court. And let me just tell you something. I'll just give you a perfect example of when that happens is when there's, and we'll talk about this a little bit, but parenting time. And if I'm supposed to bring the child back to you at 3 o'clock and I'm not there and I'm consistently not there, and we're already having some relationship issues, I have violated the law because the parenting plan is the law of the land once the judge signs it.
The parenting agreement, does it come from both sides? Do the parents put their input into it and then you formulate the agreement, or you do what's in the best interest of the child or the situation?
Both. Well, let me just say this, that up until maybe 5 or 6 years ago or so, when the courts made a decision, actually it was, we can go back further than that, but they had to operate under a doctrine, a set of principles, and the principles used to say that we're going to that what's in the best interest of the child. They call it the tender years doctrine, and the tender years doctrine said that no matter what kind of dad you are, no matter what kind of mom you are, children under a certain age would be healthier if they're raised under the mom. That was the tender years doctrine. But let's say about 10 years ago, the courts, many of the family courts, adopted a new doctrine, and the new doctrine says that we're going to do what's in the best interest of the child. And then even more recently, the courts have said we're going to start out believing that both parents are equally capable of taking care of the child, which means that dads don't have to fight so hard to get time. It doesn't default to mom, and then dads have to beg out some time. It means that the court is going to say they're both equal. Let's see if we can come to a plan. Now, go back to your answer. The parenting agreement in mediation is an agreement that's negotiated between the two parents.
Okay.
For those who elect not to go to mediation for any number of reasons, it's an agreement that's created and handed down by the courts.
So let me ask you this, because a lot of people watching, and when you hear this, I know for me, what comes directly to my mind is others go through mediation and go through the courts of getting co-parenting agreements and things of that nature. When I say others, I mean Caucasian people, white people, whatever you want to say. A lot of times, though, black folk may need that. And you may have black people do it, but there may be those are the black families that are wealthy, that are dealing with a lot of assets and things like that they need to split. But when you're dealing with the common family, just who's dealing with, the everyday, whether you're working at Walmart, Burger King, or the bank, and you're dealing with issues within your family, is a mediator important? Can a mediator come into that situation? Because maybe that family isn't about to go through divorce or going through any kind of crazy physical abuse, but maybe there's some things on a co-parenting level that is that something that you can do, or is that something where you go to counseling? What's the difference between that?
Well, here's a really important distinction to make, is a mediator, such as myself, but a mediator, we work with parents once they've decided no longer to be together. Oh. So I tell parents all the time, I meet people all the time, well, you can talk to my wife, you can talk to my husband, and we want to see if we can work this out. Well, you go to someone else to see if you can work it out. That's not what I do. I help parents to develop contracts once they've decided that they're no longer going to be together. Now, with respect to who is best served by mediation, let me just tell you this, especially when it comes to family mediation, especially coming out of COVID. There are going to be three things that most families coming out of COVID will have. And certainly many will have maxed out credit cards, a house that's underwater, and kids. They don't have any assets. So if they have pension plans or a home, they do have to distribute debt and whatnot. I don't handle that. I'm only going to negotiate what happens to the kids and what the parents want to have happen to the kids, and that's irrespective of race. Although I think that blacks get married at a much lower frequency or rate than whites, and we tend to remain in unmarried households, so more frequently. But if you are unmarried, but you are an intact family, you live together. In the eyes of your child, there's no difference. They don't. Right. Your child doesn't know what a marriage certificate is.
They don't know about paperwork.
They don't know anything about the paperwork.
They see mommy
they
and
just know
daddy
mommy
in
and
the house.
daddy are together, or mommy and daddy are not together.
Sometimes sometimes simplicity works, and it's the best thing. And when you start getting technical, you have to think about how it affects not just you,
Absolutely.
but everybody you come into contact with, and not just your kids, your friends too. And real quick, I know you're over here looking on IG. Shout out to everybody that's on IG.
Yes.
Somebody go and put up that Lakers-Knicks score, because at halftime we had trimmed it from 25 to 11. I need to know what's going on, all right? I need to know what's going on, so just throw it up on the screen. The Lakers score, so we can keep this thing rolling. I don't want this to go to the left. We're having such a great time tonight. So for those of you who are listening, we are talking to Mrs. Denise Banks Wilson. And pay attention to the information that we are giving you tonight, because somebody that's listening may just need her services,
Yes.
her help, and her energy. It might be some terminology that's throwing you off. So make sure you pay attention, because we're going to break everything down into its purest form, like water.
I'm glad you said that about terminology, and that's because when you have two parents, and all we know is, I'm going to take it to the judge. I'm going to take it to the judge. I mean, we know that kind of language, but I mean, I'm a mediator. It's my business, but I'm going to be the first person to tell you, before you take it to me, take it to grandma, or take it to the church. If there's someone that both of you trust, and that you can trust with your children, let them help you work out the parenting plan, because it's your plan, and the goal is to keep it outside of the court. They can do the same thing for you that I can do. Now I'm a co-parent educator, so when parents are trying to figure out what they're going to do with their children, you have a 3-year-old, you both agree that she's going to be able to do this, but you don't know quite what that looks like. I'm going to say, okay, well, here's what works best for 3-year-olds. Quite frankly, your grandmother can probably tell you that too, because she's raised a bunch of 3-year-olds. Okay, so if you have, I just don't like people to get so caught up in the language that I'm just going to take it to court. I'm just going to take it to court, because that's the last thing.
Right,
that
so
you
that's the
wanna
last
do when
thing
it
that
comes
you
to your
encourage,
kids.
right?
Absolutely.
Actually, we have a couple of people here on Facebook. What's up, Jackie? Jackie is watching. Nancy Wagner. What's up, Mama Nancy? As well as Erica Mungo and Ricky Lewis. What's up, Port City?
Port City, what's going on? What's that
Yes.
Lakers score? Because ain't nobody helping me out.
And Janie Frazier. Janie says that she actually went through court mediation herself. She said it was very important for her. She said it helped her because at that time her ex-husband did not understand that I had to do all that she had to do in the day for her boys, and they were young then. So for her, I guess it was a way for him understanding all the responsibilities that go on when it comes to a parent.
Right. So one of the things that happens is that, if you have an intact family, whether they've been married or not, you have an intact family, there is always someone who is the primary parent. That is simply the way that it is. And so we have parents, and maybe the parents are feuding, and typically mom is like, well, he can't take care of the kids the way I do. He can't take care of that. You have no idea what he can do when you're not there.
Right.
Okay. So while the households may not be exactly equal, the fact of the matter is, if the kids are safe, dad gets to parent the way dad parents, and mom gets to parent the way that mom parents. There are a lot. I have grandkids back at the house, and I'm still trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do with them. So a lot of parents have to learn how to parent when they're alone, but they can do it.
So let me ask you this then. Okay, because I hear, in a sense, I understand your service is so needed and what you do. But on the flip side of that, I heard you say that you will encourage that individual to go
Absolutely.
talk to grandma, go talk to auntie, go talk to this person. Why is it important then for me? Like, what is the circumstance if I were in a situation for me to say, I need to reach out to a Denise?
Because you don't have a grandma, okay, or because that's not what your grandma does. So the whole. Let me say this: the person other than me and other than the court, which your grandmother, your aunt, it's somebody that you both trust. Everyone doesn't have that. They can't come. You know, we're separated. We're divorcing. I don't like your family anymore. I don't trust your family. You don't trust my family. All right? But if you have someone that you both still trust and they're able to do this, do it. The whole idea is to do not rely on the courts to decide what your child's life is going to look like going forward. And I personally only work with parents who've elected to not engage with an attorney prior to the mediation, because I need them to come to the table being open-minded and not saying, well, I have an attorney, so I'm going to let him handle that. No. When it comes to the parenting issues, my staunch belief is that issues related to our kids shouldn't be handled in court. They should be handled at the kitchen table. So we should invite someone to that table that we can trust and that we know cares about our kids.
Right. I agree.
Give him a hand clap for
Yeah,
that.
and someone actually called him. Wilson, entertainment. He posted the score. It is actually 75-72 Knicks.
Oh, we done got this thing to 3, Calvin. I knew you cared about me, man. I had to get it all the way from my St. Louis connect, because none of you heathens right here in Charlotte would help a grown man out. That's all right, though.
Hopefully they're watching Grown Man
Salute to you.
Conversations. That's
I
why
mean, they're watching that, but
that's why they can't help a grown man out, because they're tuned into Grown Man
Let's not act
Conversations
like our
right now.
audience only has one TV in the household. These people have numerous pieces of technology in the household, or you could ask Alexa, and she'll tell you the score.
What's
Okay?
the score
And you
right
can
now?
watch whatever you want to watch. But salute to you, Calvin, for having my back. I have a question that comes off of IG Live right here. I got good eyesight. I can see. What are some of the topics or the topics that must definitely be included in this agreement?
Okay, so most jurisdictions, states' jurisdictions, are going to require 2 core issues. One is going to be physical residence, and physical residence is defined as your child's place of residence. Okay. And a better way to do that is to say, for school purposes, the school, I don't care where you live, 2 parents, the schools aren't going to use 2 addresses. Most schools, districts fall within a certain area. So whatever address you use for school purposes is considered the child's, primary physical residence, or I say, for mailing purposes. The other is legal decision making, and legal decision making is called different things in lots of different places, but that's what it boils down to. And legal decision making addresses extracurricular activities. Is the child going to be allowed to participate in extracurricular activities? Who gets to make decisions with respect to non-emergency medical? Non-emergency medical, elective care, i.e. braces. Okay, because not every parent agrees that.
Right, that the child needs braces.
Right. Another area I'm looking at here, because I don't have one here. So legal decision making is going to be decision making with respect to elective medical care and extracurricular activities, and another big one is religion. What is going to be the religious doctrine? We come from households where one person may not practice any organized religion, and the other one says, well, we're going to go to the same church that we've always gone to, and you have a 3-year-old, and parents often, fight over that. They differ over that.
Who gets to decide, though? Like, who makes it, like, when it becomes between the parents, how is it determined which parent?
Well, when it comes to
the adults about this thing.
When it comes to the legal decision making, there are 2 options. One is sole, and the other one is shared. Remember what I said earlier about the courts changing the view and saying that the parents are equal. Right now, the courts will almost always default to shared decision making. If it's sole decision making, then that means mom or dad gets to make all the choices when it comes to to those areas. I have to say that the time that's most likely to occur where one parent has sole decision making is where the courts have ruled one of two things: that the relationship between the two parents is so toxic or so challenging that they're never going to agree on anything. That's one time. And the second time would be if one parent has been absent. Now you've come back for custody. You've been away. One parent's been away for a while, or they've not been in the child's life. Then in most instances, the court will default to having the person who has been persistently present make decisions about the child's care.
And remember, she said earlier that she would encourage you to work this out among yourselves before you have your child in the system. Because once they get in the system, the game changes. The game changes drastically.
But if you can't do it without working to get them in, without working it out, without getting in the system, follow up with a Denise Wilson Banks, because she is sometimes that last resort before you actually go to the courts and you realize that, okay, it can't be worked out and we actually have to go to the courts. Right. So she is actually that, maybe that buffer or that sound of reason to really help you guys work it out before because we don't want our kids caught up in the court system. And if both parents are really
want your business caught up. Let me just kind of just share something with you for illustration purposes. I told you about how we're so accustomed to the same language, and all we know is, because we watch a lot of Matlock, all we know is we're going to go to court, we're going to go to court, we're going to go to court. Right. And so parents aren't getting along. They come to mediation, and someone says, well, you know what? Forget about this. I'm not even going to try. I can't work with her. I can't work with him. I'm just going to let the judge decide. The judge is going to decide. Is going to decide what our parenting plan is going to look like. And so here's what I want to say, is that when you pass on your child to the family court or to the judge to make a decision, you're thinking as a parent that the judge is going to come back and hand it to you and say, here, parents, here's the parenting plan. That's not what happens. I challenge my parents to think about it this way, is that if you have a 7-year-old daughter and the two of you can't work it out, and so now the judge is going to have to design your parenting plan or write your parenting plan, the judge is not going to call the two of you up. They're going to call your 7-year-old daughter up. And that judge is going to say, okay, Kelsey, you're going to live with mom, but you're going to see dad on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and every other weekend. You're going to go to this school. You're going to spend Christmas with dad. You're going to spend Easter with mom. That's what's happening. The judge isn't telling you what their child's life is going to look like, your child's life is going to look like. The judge is telling your child. Don't get me wrong. There are circumstances where, and I suspect that there are some people who listen to you who know somebody for whom the best person to make this decision is the judge. And in that circumstance, and I've met with parents who I've said, you don't need to be here. You're never going to be able to come to an agreement. This is going to require court involvement or someone's not going to comply. But I'd like to believe those times are few and far between. As outside of my role as a mediator, kind of in consort, I'm a co-parent educator. So it's my job to, before we even go into mediation, is to sit down and have a come to Jesus moment about who you want to be deciding whether or not your child is going to be playing in this sport, or whether or not your child is going to be going to church, or where they're going to be during the summer. So if I can keep you, if I can appeal to your sense of parental duty and your parental responsibility, and appeal to the loyalty you should have to your child, if we can do that, then we can come back, get a cup of coffee, get a glass of wine, and sit at the table and work this out.
De La Soul has some lyrics in Stakes is High. And give us some hand claps for that, because the bottom line of all this is trying to work it out. Black family trying to work it out. As a matter of fact, that's the lyrics of De La Soul. Stakes is High. Life can get all up in your ass, baby. You better work it out. Let me show you what it's all about. That's what we're talking about tonight. Parenting, life can get all up in your ass.
Absolutely.
Baby, you, not the judge, not the attorney, not the system. Baby, you better work it out. And if you can't, find somebody that can help you. And if that doesn't work, then you find this lady and let her put it together for you before you go into the system and try to freestyle it. Okay?
Let me say something about attorneys. Okay, so because again, people watch a lot of Matlock, so they're going to get or Law and Order.
You could tell she old school. She said Matlock.
Right.
Okay? She took it back.
I just thought about that, like Law and Order, right? So the thing about having attorneys is that keep in mind your relationship. You have an attorney. I have an attorney, right? My attorney's relationship with your attorney's relationship began before I hired him.
Right.
And will go on long after
yeah.
I'm not paying them anymore. So the notion that and I'm not disparaging attorneys in particular. I'm not disparaging them as an industry. I'm just saying that it's not what it appears to be. When you engage with an attorney for a parenting plan, you have a lot of resources. The only thing you really have are kids. When you engage with an attorney for a parenting plan, it is far more costly. Way more stressful because now you got to appear in court and you got to sit next to them on the bench and all that kind of stuff, and it takes a lot longer to get over, a much longer to move past. Not only that, when we work together, and I throw myself into it, I'm a part of this whole co-parenting team. When we work together, we are more likely to comply with an agreement that we made ourselves. Even if we don't like it, we're more likely to comply.
If we had an input in it, yeah.
As opposed to having a judge hand it down to you. Right? Yeah. So it isn't for everyone. I'm not for everyone, to be perfectly honest with you. As a mediator, I'm not for everyone, but that's because I hold people like I said, I hold you accountable as a parent. You're not a client to me. I whether as a co-parent educator and as a mediator, I'm going to always call the people I work with parents. And when I'm working with you, it's dad and mom. You know why? Because that's why you're there. You're not there as my client. You're not there as Mr. and Mrs. You're there as mom and dad. Then I can help you to stay focused on the child.
The courts don't know your children better than you do.
At all.
No matter how tit for tat or whatever the energy is between the parents. Court system does not know the kids better than you. A judge does not know your child better than you. So sometimes it comes down to the ability to agree, to disagree, and you have to be adults, and you have to move in the best direction for not just you, for your child.
You have to love your child. You have to love your child more than you hate the other parent.
Right, I was
really
going to say that's easier
Yeah.
said, because if you have a conflict with that parent and there's something going on in that relationship and you're having a resentment against one another, you have to be a strong individual to be able to separate the two.
Well, yeah, but yes, what you're saying is absolutely accurate. The thing is though, when we have a legacy of a negative relationship with someone, that's usually because of what we've done to each other as adults or what's happened to me as an adult. Right. It's not because of you weren't my father, so I can't say that you did any. I can't come to you from out of that pain. I'm coming to you as your former partner, and so in a lot of instances, I guess I would say where absent any emotional or physical abuse, and it's pretty absent most often, especially when there's conflict, it's not two parents who are fighting, it's two former lovers. Right. Who are fighting. Right. And so the as a mediator, my work, the way I do my work is to push that stuff aside. If we need to acknowledge it, we can acknowledge it. You got exactly 7 seconds to tell me or to tell him what you really hate about him. Then we're going to, and you can do it too, and then we're going to get back to business because this is really about the kids. Your relationship as former lovers has absolutely nothing to do with the child. Nothing. So if I call you dad, regardless of how you were fathered, there's something powerful about that. I'm going to say, Dad, you are responsible for her. You are responsible for her. When she's with you, you are 100% parent. You need to be the parent on duty. All right? When they're with you, you are 100% parent. You are the parent on duty. You can't say, you don't get to say, well, I'm not going to be a good parent because I hate him. You don't get to do that. What your parents told you, two wrongs don't make a right.
Right.
You don't. I don't care how wrong someone has been to you. What your partner, you don't get to do the same thing to your child.
Please say that again, because there are so many women and men on that, on that fact. But I definitely know of personal cases where there are women that are holding grudges against the man that were ex-lovers, and these men are wanting to step up to be fathers to their children. And because of being lackadaisical in the beginning, and it wasn't a marriage, and you had the baby, so the baby stayed with you, and it was always that way. Now going to the courts, it's hard for these fathers to get that either custody or either get the acknowledgement of what they're doing as fathers. And sometimes the court system are taking everything that the woman is saying, you know what I mean, to be fact and to be law, and not giving the fathers a chance. Like, what do you say to that? Like, how do you speak to those fathers and those
Well,
folks
first of all, it's true.
Yeah.
Regardless of how far we've come, and regardless of the personal convictions of the judge or the personal convictions of the attorney and even myself, the fact of the matter is we're still in a system. We're still in a time where the family court system still favors the mom, because the mom, unless the mother's an absent, but let's just say that in nearly every instance the mom is there. That what did our parents used to say again? I'm going to date myself. Mama's baby, daddy's maybe.
Papa's
Okay.
maybe.
Yeah, Papa's
maybe.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, in a lot of the co-parent situations, particularly where people weren't married, some of that reflects reality. That dad is not there. That there's the dad for whom there was no marriage, and if they never lived together as an intact family, that dad has an uphill battle. If mom doesn't if mom's not open to dad being involved, that father has an uphill battle, but not an impossible one. And it's one of those instances where dad is going to have to fight and fight and fight. But when it comes to our kids, if you continue to fight, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Mm-hmm. And so I tell parents all the time, just like they say in the sober programs, AA, NA, is like, just keep coming back. Mm-hmm. You keep knocking. You just keep knocking. Don't give up. And it's hard. It is exceptionally hard. Yeah, it's exceptionally hard. I guess if we were going to do anything as a community, I'm talking about the black community, we could really, there's a lot going out there telling dads how to be better fathers, but we could be talking to moms about what it means to be a better mom. Right. If dad is engaged with the child or wants to continue to be engaged with the child.
Right. I think that's, that's so good.
I got two things. Number one, when you talk about the court system and we talk about keeping your kids out of the system, listen to this. It is a system that doesn't work for you, black people. Now, you can act like Ripley's. You can believe it or not. So if it doesn't work for a murder, if it doesn't work for theft, if it doesn't work for domestic violence, if it doesn't work for them, why do you think that all of a sudden it's going to be correct when it comes to your children? And the last thing that this judicial system prioritizes and gives a damn about is your children. You should want to do the right thing and make sure that your child is taken care of, not through the system, but through God's system, which is communicating.
Right.
And I know Yolanda said it's easier said than done. You're right. There's a lot of things that's easier said than done. And what I'm finding out is the things that are easier said than done takes the hardest work, but it's one of the most beneficial hard work processes that you can go through. Is the sacrifice worth the reward? And when it comes to your children, it should be. The second thing I want to say is, Cal, give me an update on this Laker game, please.
75-72 Knicks was the last.
Right. So why you repeat? We already had that.
No, I gave you another one.
No, you didn't.
Yes. I'm sorry. 81-79.
Who?
Knicks.
Okay, the 2 part. All right. What quarter?
I don't know what quarter it's in, but what's important right now is this parenting, co-parenting stuff. Because LeBron and Savannah are doing great with their kids, and they are parenting well. We are talking about this right
Oh,
now.
we're dead on it, but I just had to know that.
90-85. Okay, Clark Wilson. That's the last
Knicks?
score we need. Yes, the Knicks is always last. That's who it's always the last. So whatever the top score is what he's saying.
Okay.
So this is a perfect time to segue into our little shout outs to our sponsors who are sponsoring Grown Man Conversations. We have to give a shout out to Grown TV Network, GTVN. You can not only watch recap episodes of Grown Man Conversations, but you can also watch other content from other content creators from around the world. We also want to give a shout out to Grown Fit. Yes, Carl and Denise. They are some new Grown Fit wearers.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll be getting some pictures of them soon in their Grown Fit. But look, this is tracksuit season. So why not go to grownfitwear.com and get you a tracksuit. We got some new flavor coming for y'all too, 2022. So be on the lookout for that. And have to, last but not least, EQ Studios, where the quality here is exceptional. It's exceptional quality here at EQ Studios, and this is where the home of our podcast, Grown Man Conversations. Yes. So back to the conversations of this parent mediation and all of this. Let me ask you, have you ever had to do any co-parenting agreements or parent mediation within your own family?
No. No, I have not. For one thing, everybody in my family is old. So we don't have any minor kids as far as my siblings go. And I'd say the other part of it is that for my nieces and nephews who have children with someone else, I'm kind of like, always on they can call me about anything, anytime, anywhere. So, and as you guys know, I have this conversation with anybody, anywhere. I'm in business, but I do my work out of my heart, and I guess a lot of people say that. So let me just say this: this is not my work. This is my life. So I'm going to answer any question that anybody needs if it's going to help them to be a better parent tonight, or it's going to help them to be a better parent tomorrow.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
And that leads into my next thing then, to understand the passion, because this has to be a tedious career and job that you're in servicing, dealing with children and dealing with, mediation and trying to get the parents on one accord, and you're dealing with emotions and energy, and there may be some families or parents that you're attached to and some that you're not. What is the
I get
passion?
attached to all my parents.
Wow. So, see,
you know
what I'm saying? Right.
Yeah.
So,
but everyone cannot
do this kind of work.
That.
So what is the passion behind you that allows you to be able to do it and still keep a functioning family where it doesn't pour into your family?
I guess, I don't, it's just really weird how I even got pulled into this whole arena. And at the time that I actually began mediating, the divorce industry did not even exist. It wasn't called that. But for me personally, I believe very strongly, and I do everything that I can to live out of what I know to be my purpose. I've been married before, and quite frankly, my divorces were a blip on the radar screen. So it's not like a lot of people who are in this field had terrible divorces, and because of that, they're passionate about the work. By the grace of God, I don't have that. I've never had that as an issue. My parents were married forever. I was 30 probably. I was probably 30 before I even knew anything about divorce or knew someone that I knew was divorced. Obviously, a couple of my sisters were, but I didn't know. I didn't know that's what it was. So I didn't understand divorce in that context. But I do understand parenting. And I had, with my first marriage, that's where I had my two children, and I was a horrible co-parent. I mean, I was a good parent to my kids, but I was a horrible co-parent. And I remember one time being in my son's room with him, and his father came over. And I've never forgotten this. And I was actually teaching co-parenting at the time. Go figure. So I'm in the room with my son, and he's probably 11 or 12 or something like that. And their dad comes over, and, I pick an argument with their father. And then it hits me, oh, my God. So I go into my son's room, and I say, after his father's, I was like, I'm so sorry. Mom shouldn't have let you hear this conversation. And he was playing with his Xbox. And I'll never forget it. He had the controller in his hand. And so I'm standing right here telling him, I'm so sorry. Mommy shouldn't have done that. I know better and everything. And so he said, he's looking up, never turns and looks at me. He says, that's okay. This happens all the time. And it's almost always your fault.
Oh, wow.
That's when it hit me.
That was a wake-up
mouth
call.
of
That's when it hit me. And I was teaching parenting at the time, but that was my come to Jesus moment. And I was like, you teach this stuff every day. You should know better.
Yeah.
I was a good parent, but he was a good parent, great parent.
But together,
that was remember that relationship stuff we talked about. That's what I was fighting against. I was fighting against that.
Yeah. Wow.
And why do a lot of people fight? This is true for women. Is they just want their before I met him back.
Yeah.
I want my before I met him back. I'm so sorry I had kids with him, or I'm so sorry I had kids with her. I just wish my life was like it was before I had the kids.
And you can't do that.
That's
Then
never
you
going
got
to
to deal with the mess that you created
Exactly.
within
Exactly.
those kids.
And the kids aren't the mess.
They're not the mess. Exactly.
Right, it was a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Exactly.
It was a choice, and you can't hold them accountable for your choices, but you can make it work.
You can make it work.
You can make it work. Somebody work at corporate America, and somebody work at Popeyes.
Well,
it ain't about where you at. It's about what you do.
And being
You
willing
can make
to
it
work
work.
it out.
Yeah, you can make it
and,
work.
And you know what? I'm glad that you use those words about making it work because what a lot of parents don't understand is that there's a concept called parallel parenting. And parallel parenting says that you're going to parent over here, I'm going to parent over here, and the only time we talk or the only thing we communicate about is the kids.
Kids.
That's it. So that whole relationship that we keep getting drawn in, that's why we argue at McDonald's when we're dropping off the kids. We're not arguing about the kid. We're arguing about the fact that you didn't answer your phone, or we're arguing about that crazy stuff.
Right.
And I was getting ready to cuss, but that crazy
You be
stuff,
crazy.
that
You
crazy
be
shit,
right.
Okay? And that's the shit that keeps that tension. When you parallel parent, then you limit the opportunities for that. I've had women who've said he's driving me crazy. I'm going to have to cut him off. I've had men who've said the exact same thing. So when that happens, we can do a parenting plan where, and in the parenting plan, we not only specify where the child is going to live, what school they're going to go to, and what the holidays are going to be like, but we specify what your communication is going to be. So the parenting plan is not just to move the kids forward, but it can set guardrails for your co-parenting relationship. And if it's all about keeping the kids healthy, if those guardrails are necessary, we're going to ride those bumpers until we grow up,
Yeah,
until we get better.
And I was going to say, do you think it's more so a mindset that the individuals have? Because, and I say that, the reason why I say that is, Tone and I, we've known each other now for over 25 years. And when we met, for over 25 years. When we met at a comedy club, and we met as friends. It wasn't something we were looking to get into a relationship necessarily like that with one another. Then once we did get into our relationship, I actually got pregnant 3 months into our relationship because of the condom breaking. And I got pregnant, but I really got to know him. I've gotten to know him over these 25 years. I still get to know him. Every year, I'm learning something different about him. But one of the main things going into this relationship, and I was a new mother. I didn't have any children prior to Tone. I never, ever, ever wanted to put my children in between whatever conflict me and him were having.
Good mommy.
I made it very clear to him
mommy.
when I got pregnant that I'm not pregnant by you because you Tone X. I can give a damn about that. I'm pregnant by you. I'm keeping this child because, for one, I want it. 2, I want you to know about it, and I think that you would be a phenomenal father, and I want you to be in his life. But if you're not, that's going to be your choice. And I'm not going to keep him from you if you decide that's not your choice. And so I made that, before any ups and downs, and even through our ups and downs. And I'm glad I did, because even through the ups and downs that we've had, not once have I ever put our children in the midst of maybe what we have going on. Right. It's always been about me and them. So I say that to say that, do you think that is a mindset people have maybe prior to relationships, or are we just being that selfish and that immature in situations that we would really put our children's life, stake, and opportunity to be with a mother or a father at risk just to be mean or nasty?
Well, so let me, I guess I'll approach that in two different ways. It's kind of two different questions. But the reality is that some children are born long before the relationship between the two parents is formed. Mm-hmm. Okay, and the fact that they've been laying up with each other, which is all cool and fine, and that's an adult issue, but they haven't established the type of emotional trust necessary to raise a child together. Mm-hmm. And so, even though the child has been born, we don't have that relation. I mean, some people, we don't have that relationship, and so they have to parent separately. And they may even, because you surely heard this before. Well, you know what? I didn't. We weren't trying to have a kid. We really weren't, seeing each other exclusively. But now that we've had the child, we're going to see if we can make a go of this. Right. Those are two people who are saying that we didn't have an emotional relationship. We had a sexual relationship, a
physical relationship,
but we didn't have an emotional relationship.
Right.
But prior to the child, becoming. But we're going to try to make it work. So sometimes the inability to work together as co-parents comes from the fact that you really never had a relationship
to begin with.
There are people who've been married for 10 years and they have children and they have a difficult time. Yeah, co-parenting together. So now you got to co-parent with someone that you hardly know.
Right.
Now, does having an extended relationship or a long-term relationship make co-parenting any easier? It makes you more familiar with each other,
but it doesn't make
and you've already developed a trust. So I know that when you pick up my son and you tell me you're going to get his hair cut,
then you're going to get
his. Yeah, that's cool. But if I don't really know you, then I don't. And if I'm mad at you, if we broke up, not only do I not know you, I don't trust you, but I'm pissed at you.
Yeah. So it's
conflict.
a whole
Recipe for conflict.
Hey, Terrence Murray, thank you for joining us on Grown Men Conversations. So our guest tonight, because he wanted to know who is the guest tonight, we are speaking with Denise Banks Wilson. For those who are just joining in, and maybe if you didn't catch when we first came on, she is a co-parenting expert as well as mediator and family mediator. So she is that person that you go see if you're going through some drama or some crazy stuff with your family and you don't want it to go to the courts. She is the person that you go see before you actually go to the courts. If it's absolutely to the point to where
you go to jail,
or before you go to jail,
right.
But if it's absolutely a situation to where you cannot keep the courts out of it, at least she's the one to be able to help make that parent agreement, help you get it together so that both parents have a say-so in what they want to happen with the child. And then that's presented to the court. The court can sign off on that. And then that's how you and your co-parent
go forth.
Can go forth. So that's who we're talking to tonight. And Denise, before which we're wrapping up, not quite yet, but I want to make sure we get this out. If people do want to contact you and want to talk to you or schedule an appointment or know more about co-parenting and family mediation, how can they do that?
Well, they can go to my website, which is www.familyjourneymediation.com. That's mediation. Some people misspell it as meditation, but it's family journey. I mean, it's just a common misspelling. Familyjourneymediation.com. If you want to know more about me and how I do my work, I encourage you to follow me on Instagram, on IG, and that's under Family Journey Mediation. And let me. I say it that way because I am not for everyone, and I'm comfortable saying that. If you are not willing, if you are not ready to come to the table and present yourself as the very best parent you can be, then I'm not your girl.
And don't come to you.
I'm not your girl.
Don't go to you.
Right.
And that should stand in the relationship. Because you should strive to try to be the best
parent you can
that you can be. And a lot of times it comes from what you saw when you grew up, what you were around. Your environment shapes you. And as you get older, you don't retort. take those things that you learn and you move forward. And that's why when a lot of people say, I wish, I had my life back, or we wasn't thinking about something. I tell you this, if you bring a car back to a rental place and you say, I got hit, and the man say, oh, and you say, yeah, I wasn't even thinking about taking the car today. Y'all just had a good deal, and I just said, I knew I shouldn't have. Did you take the car off the lot? Then there's a chance that you might get hit versus if you'd have left it sitting still on the lot. Did you have sex with her? Well, it's a chance that she might get pregnant versus you leaving her alone on the lot. Or you take the young girl approach, and that's a whole nother podcast. But I'll tell you this, it's 109% chances that she won't get pregnant if you take that young girl thought approach.
Oh, Lord.
You ain't never got to worry about no pregnancy or no co-parenting. All you need is some water.
And here's the
And
comedian.
that's how you co-
and so how would that happen?
This how you
you're
co-
leaving
this
everyone
how you
wondering.
co-parent.
You're leaving everyone guessing. So how
See, I'm
would that
co-parent.
happen?
I just co-parented.
And what does that mean? What does that mean?
She
Tony?
washing it down. All the kids. She just washed them down.
You see what I'm saying?
I'm
That's
going to
what
let
you-
this go
what she
right
asked.
over
Right,
my
let
head,
it go
'cause
I
right
wasn't
over your
even gonna
head.
say nothing
I'm
because the
old.
people that looking, y'all got it. But Yolanda had to exploit it.
Because
so there you go.
It didn't.
There you
Everyone's
go.
looking like, what is he
Them
talking
young
about?
girls don't spit, they swallow.
Oh, my God.
So that'll save you a couple dollars, all right? That's all I'm saying.
God.
Some of you older women got acid reflux. You can't do it.
Oh,
you
my
choke,
Lord.
You choke if the
I
bread
am
go down the
60.
wrong pipe.
Stop this conversation.
Okay?
Right,
Lord
we
have
ain't
mercy.
swallowing it, whether we got acid reflux or not.
Oh,
honey.
my
some
No
ain't.
baby's going down.
Right, but some you see some couples ain't worried about no kids. I tell you that.
Right.
You start talking about kids, they be like, "Mama, we good."
We ain't
That's the
worried
last
about
thing
that.
we worried about over here.
I know, my kids
Never have to
do.
worry about that. Okay. Now on that note,
So funny.
somebody over there rolling. I see them smiley faces. Y'all know it's true though. You can talk about it or not. Something else is true. I think that we can all strive to be better parents. And I think that we can all strive to be better communicators in our relationship, not just with the adults, but with the kids. And I think in the long run, that's going to be highly beneficial for you to be able to agree to disagree, even to talk, even to find. It's amazing what conversation will do. And you talk about you want your life back before what you might get it back if you do more talking
Right.
and not just sit there and not say nothing or expect. Stop mind reading. Ain't nobody no mind readers around here. When y'all say, well, I would listen, stop that Jada Pinkett shit. Jada on the red table talking about, and you think after all these years, you would expect your man to know what you want. No, not if you ain't saying
gotta
nothing.
tell him, Ray. You gotta
I don't
speak.
give a damn. You've been with him 40 years. If you ain't saying nothing.
You ain't opening your
you
mouth.
Yeah. So, get away from that and do more of this. Just do more of
Talking
this.
and communicating.
And see what happens with that.
Yeah. And ladies, even if it gets on his nerves, because I'm a talker and a communicator. I came from a talkative and communicating family. And sometimes when you're in a relationship, it does get on your partner's nerves. And dealing with men, they don't want to necessarily talk as much as you want to talk. Or they don't
have
necessarily
mercy.
talk
Say that
about
again.
the subject that you want to talk about. But it is so important. It is a key element which has helped Tone and I's relationship grow, which has helped Tone and I like one another, which has helped Tone and I co-parent. Why do you have the crickets on with me?
Talk about the men.
Yeah, y'all don't. Y'all
Some.
don't like to talk.
Some.
Some don't. But you have to, if that man is there for the betterment of the relationship, even if it's uncomfortable, then he'll talk. And what we found that within the midst of our most uncomfortable conversations, we see a lot of growth and a lot of love come out of, our relationship from that when we have those uncomfortable conversations where we have to grow with one another. So,
This is not my area, but I can say I experienced that with my husband. I definitely am a very verbal communicator.
Yeah.
And I have to pick and choose very carefully. I have to say, this part's important. You don't have to pay attention to this part. I'll table this, but all right. And I'll have to tell him, okay, look at me. and then I'm going to say this. Because otherwise, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm going to get this most of the time.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to hold him responsible.
Right.
He say, honey, I wasn't even listening. I'm like, and I knew you weren't listening. I can't hold you responsible.
That's the monster right there.
Right.
Relationships
Yeah.
were much better when you had the rotary phone and the pay
you
phone,
had to.
and you ain't have no social media.
No
It was all you had technology, but it wasn't to the point where it makes you feel like it's a crutch. We letting technology think for us. It's not the other way around. So it's a lot of couples that's out there now. If they want to know about parenting or if they want to know how to communicate or do something better, they go to YouTube. They'll look up a video. They'll look up somebody instead of sitting down and trying to work it out themselves.
Well, we have to recognize that. I know we're going to go, but we have different parenting
we're good.
styles.
Right.
And that's if we work it, the child just benefits from it.
Right.
It's okay to have different parenting
Right.
styles. We come from two different homes. One of us may have had a stronger parent presence than the others. You know, we have different parenting styles, and I actually work with parents and my co-parents when I'm working, particularly with them separately, to give them a co-parent, not a co-parent, but to give them a parenting styles quiz, because your parenting style is going to determine your discipline style, and we fight over discipline. You know, so yeah. I mean, just
I'm glad you said that, though.
Yeah.
You said there are different parenting styles. And I always
just
say
like there are different love languages. there are
tradition to
different
get you
parenting
killed. But I'll use an analogy for you. There are different parenting styles. If you go through a neighborhood, there are different homes that are in that neighborhood. But all of those homes have one thing that binds them and pulls them together: the foundation.
True.
All the foundations of the home are built the same. The outer appearance, the accessories and dimensions change the appearance of the home.
Right.
But you've never walked inside a home and your foot hit the ground because there's a foundation. There's different parenting styles. There's different parents. There's different
Yeah,
backgrounds.
but if you have that foundation.
But all the parenting styles are pulled together by the same foundation, and that foundation is communicating. Helen Keller was a better communicator than some of us who can see, hear,
and talk.
A lot of times for black couples, we like to communicate when it's too late. You know how your mama tell you save for a rainy day and then something hits you, and now all of a sudden you want to make $500 in 24 hours?
Right.
A lot of times that's what black couples do. You've had all these years to talk. You've had all these years to work, formulate, come together, do things for the kid. But when shit hit the fan and you see that kid leaving or that wife leaving or that father leaving or that household is messed up, then you want to put on your do the right thing cap. Then she want to put on the good wife cap. Now you want to put on, let me show you how to act right. And you had all of that time to do that.
Yeah.
Try to make sure that your foundation is solid,
Now.
okay? Try to make sure that your foundation is solid before the adjuster comes out
Yeah.
and tells you that what you
they know
thought
that
the house was worth
Yeah.
is not worth that. And when you say why, and he say, well, the foundation messed up, you're going to feel so bad.
Right.
You're going to feel so bad about it. Get your foundation together.
Get your foundation right, people.
You know, get your foundation right.
Well, thank you all for joining us tonight. It has. It's been another great Grown Man Conversations. We thought to talk about family mediation and co-parenting and all of that going into the holidays. Sometimes there's
Right.
drama, and sometimes it's the time to relieve the drama, to come back and come together and be on the same mindset and on one accord with one another and to get it right.
You're going to see at Thanksgiving. Because Thanksgiving dinner do one of two things. It's either going to bring the family closer together
Or tear us
it's going to
apart.
expose everything and it's going to bring you farther apart. And the reason it's going to bring you farther apart is because, just like Miss Denise said, everybody got different parenting styles. Okay, everybody got different communication styles too. So that uncle or that aunt that's fine sober, that don't say nothing, 3 drinks in,
I'm okay.
they telling you they ain't your real daddy.
Okay.
You know ain't your real daddy.
That's
They ain't
what
your-
we
they ain't
don't
your
want to
aunt.
happen.
All right,
They ain't
so
your aunt.
I'm going to do my job, but I'm going to say this, that you can make the Thanksgiving as miserable as you want as long as you keep it at the adult table.
Ooh,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, I
we always
like
got
that.
the kid table.
I
Yes.
like that.
Just keep it on the adult table. Don't clean it down. I don't have to go down to the kiddie table to tell
That's
you.
in the
you
black
know,
household.
your
Yes.
dad's a jerk.
Yes.
You go over to the Caucasian house, everybody sit at the table. Kids,
The daddies, dogs,
and the family. Okay, and grandmama got her teeth out, and ain't nobody saying nothing. And they got raisins on the potato salad, and they got crust on the macaroni and cheese. I can't do it. I can't do it. All right,
Denise,
I
tell
can't
them
do
where
it.
they can follow you again. And
I'm
if
getting
they
upset
wanna get
thinking
in
about
touch
it right
with
now.
you. Tell them where they can follow you at.
You can follow me on Instagram at Family Journey Mediation, Mediation, or you can reach out to me through that, or you can go to my website and see some of my publications and some of my podcasts, and that's www.familyjourneymediation.com.
www.familyjourneymediation.com. All right. If you knew better, you do better. So
Yes.
you got information. Information is the new currency. So put it to use, beautiful people. Thank you for those scoring updates. I noticed you stopped when we were down 12 for good reason though, because you knew. You knew. I appreciate you, Jay. You knew. It was no need to put that back up here. An incredible show tonight.
Yes.
Incredible information tonight. I hope you had a chance to listen. Jot some things down.
Yeah.
So just in case, you know what to do.
Yep. So
All right.
remember, next week, same time, same place. We'll be right back here with more grown man conversations for you. And next week is totally different. We're doing something called Bridging the Gap. So make sure you watch.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be an interesting
and
concept.
tune
It's going to
into
be a lot
that.
of fun.
Very fun and very interesting and informative. So
And also, don't forget Saturday night. I know Friday is Black Friday, all right? But Saturday is Black Saturday.
Black Saturday,
Okay?
baby.
I'm hosting with your boy Mace. Bad boy
Bad
Mace.
boy.
DJ SNS, all right? It's going to be something. It's the all-black affair. Everybody like to look slim. Y'all be wanting an excuse to wear black? Put your black on. Everybody going to look slim in their pictures for IG. Come on out. It's grown, all right? It's grown. We getting it in with Mace. Come through Saturday night at World, okay? It's going to be an affair.
Yeah.
Put your black on and come through. Always bet on black. Put your black on. Some of you ladies wear them black tights every day. Here go your excuse. Put them on and put your little boots on.
Right, and come on out
come
there.
through. Because you know you got it. You been wanting to put it on. Come on. Come on out Saturday night. It's going to be love, though, with Pastor Mason Betha. Now, he ain't a pastor no more, is he?
I don't think so.
I think it's just May.
I
think
got
it
some
went back to
questions
Mace.
for him though, from when he was a pastor and
Leave that boy
before
alone.
when he got caught pulled
Boys
over
in
in
Atlanta. Leave that boy alone.
I got some
That was a
questions.
chapter. He don't need a mediator. That was a chapter in his life he'd like to forget. We let that boy go on about his business. Okay?
Well, go ahead and take us out of here with the grown man thing.
You're rocking with some grown man edge.
I don't think you're ready.
How about we do it like this?
Yeah.
It's a grown man in the building. I don't think you're ready.
Y'all Tuesday
Come
night.
on. We riding on some grown man needs. We step into some grown man needs. Conversation on some grown man needs. Put your hands up on some grown man needs. We buffing on some grown man needs. We sipping on some grown man needs. We vibing on some grown man needs. We loving on some grown man needs. I know, you know, that you're down with me.
Black. 'Cause
You
they'll come in there. It'll be
I know
antique black.
All black.
Jet black. I'm like, oh, God.
Okay, black.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
To raise your glass,
Who'd you come with?
to
That's what I'm
stand
starting to
up,
get.
pull your pants up, and you know that it's
Good
time
night,
to
y'all.
represent. We riding on some grown
Ron
man
got it.
needs.
Tag it.
We step into some grown man